Man United 2, Spurs 2. How do you break that one down?
Honestly, it's a fair reflection on where we are as a team, as a club. I think Spurs were probably a better team, as you saw from the amount of possession they had, but realistically, it's where we are. I can't complain. I think we're not quite good enough for top four, but we're not a million miles away either, and I think a draw's a fair result. Probably at the end, disappointing McTominay's not nicked it with a header 5 yards out from goal, but yeah, I think in reality, you can't really complain too much because that's what we are at the moment. I know they had players missing, but so did we. And so, yeah, it's maybe a little bit frustrating, but I think we can't just we can't fall into this media trap of it's Man United, they should be winning every game. It's been at least 10 years now since we've been anywhere near that.
Yeah, we know we're not good.
Yeah, we're not good. We can't expect to suddenly just beat every team and smash them off the park. Yes, they were there for the taking today.
But that's what I was going to say. I find these types of convos hard because overall, like in a snapshot, you're right.
Yeah.
But like in the context of the 90, like why couldn't we beat them then? What is it from that perspective?
Honestly, It's the same thing I've been saying for the whole season. It's not a sexy answer. It's not a tactics this, Ten Hag that, players this. Our players just are not fit enough to compete with any other team at this moment in time. It's the same thing Chelsea had last season. When they came here, when they played any other game, you get 20, 25 minutes of a good performance, doing what the managers asked tactically, loads of rotations, loads of this, loads of that, causing problems in behind, causing problems playing through the lines, all this sort of great stuff going on, and then the team just fade. And it's the same here. You see, the reason they had so much possession the entire game is because we couldn't get after them. We didn't have the intensity in the sprint. When we win the ball back, honestly, for those of you watching that don't know what Ten Hag's style is, he wants Man United to go on the sort of traditional DNA of being great on the counter, being exciting, breaking forwards quickly at pace. There are so many opportunities when all it takes is one good long ball in behind or good ball over the top in the right moment to a player running at pace, and we're in. The problem is, and look, his structure's working well to build those opportunities. The problem is we don't have those runs because the players aren't equipped for it. And when the players are equipped to make those runs, if the ball doesn't stick first time, if the front three have made those runs, the midfield are then so exposed because they haven't made the runs in support and the backline haven't got up in support. The team physically aren't ready, and that's why you end up with an issue like this where you just can't get near the ball at times.
You mentioned a lot about fitness and physicality and not the word quality as well.
Yeah.
So you see it more as a fitness thing and a lack of, rather than some of these players ain't good enough, and actually onto the manager, the way he is actually getting them to build up the tactics that he is putting. Because I'm looking at Spurs and you're saying the reason that they're better than us then, football-wise, is not because Ange is a better coach than Ten Hag and the systems and the routines, it's because they're fitter than us.
There's a lot of issues going on, but yes, ultimately yes. I think if our players were fit enough, we'd be fine.
Really?
Honestly.
You think the biggest problem is fitness then? Not actually...
By a million miles.
Really?
Honestly, take it as... I 100% believe that, because if you look at players like Scott McTominay, for example, the one thing that he's always been consistently fantastic at is he's always been, whoever you put him up against, he's one of the fittest players, if not the fittest player on the pitch. He's doing the most running, winning the most duels, winning everything in the air. And look at him this season, he looks like an average player in terms of the fitness level. I think quality... Quality, he's always been average. I absolutely agree. Yeah. But fitness-wise, he doesn't stand out now.
He's not even... Okay, so you're saying he's not even giving us physicality?
Yeah, but if you look at someone like Scott McTominay, whose one star quality is that he's an incredible athlete, he's not even giving us that now. That tells you the extent of the problem we've got. And ultimately, the Premier League's the most physical league in the world. It's not the most technical. That's La Liga. It's the most physical league, and if you can't run, if you can't compete, you're in big trouble.
Work at that intensity.
And the problem is, people don't want to hear it because there's no quick fix for it. The reality is, you can't fix this again until pre-season, unless people are prepared for Erik ten Hag to just say the next 3 or 4 games don't matter. We're just going to use the next month to get ourselves in the right shape, that we can do the high-intensity sprints that the way he wants to play football demands. I think ten Hag, in terms of philosophy, in terms of tactics, you can see... Obviously, elements of, for example, everyone's raving about Postecoglou because, the fullbacks invert and all of that. We do that as well. Dalot inverts at times. Wan-Bissaka sometimes inverts at times. Luke Shaw, sometimes you see Martinez when he's playing push up into midfield. We do all that sort of stuff. The problem is we don't keep the ball long enough.
Yeah, ours is not fluid. The technical level of player that we have and in midfield, it's not there.
Yeah, but a big part of that is the physical side, because it's obviously mentally it's very taxing if you've got to be in different positions, but also physically secondly, if you're going to be moving between those different zones of the pitch, you've got to do it quickly. The biggest difference today between Spurs and United was when Spurs are playing out from the back, if their midfielders or their fullbacks are rotating into a different zone, they do it at pace. When United players are doing it, it's a jog because they physically can't keep going at that pace. You watch us when we're trying to go and press, maybe you get Højlund or Rashford.
We did it for like 10 minutes, didn't we, at the beginning of the first, which I thought good. We're being aggressive here. Højlund's pressing, Rashford's pressing, Bruno was pressing quite well, actually. And then, again, like you said, it never lasts.
But it doesn't last because we haven't got the fitness built up. We're physically not conditioned for Premier League football. And look, ultimately, the guy responsible for that is Erik ten Hag. But also, if you look at the demands of the pre-season tour, the amount of flights going on, you were there. Do you feel like
everyone was mate? Spurs had to go out there as well. They had to go all the way to flipping Korea or whatever. Like
the difference is, they didn't have anywhere near as many flights, anywhere near as many matches. But also, you come back here, Spurs haven't been in Europe playing every 3 days. If you're playing in Europe every 3 days, you don't have the physical time to train. The way you organise training sessions as a coach, if you've got games 3 days apart, there's very little time to actually work on anything.
So your criticism, you're not really labelling any criticism at the lack of like the style that Eric's bringing or what you can see what he's trying to do.
100%. And for me, if you want to describe what Erik ten Hag's trying to do, you need to sort of imagine. So if you take Pep Guardiola's sort of positional play, in terms of players are in particular zones, and the idea behind that is that you can exploit teams that are defending zonally, because if they overcommit to one area of the pitch, you can move the ball over to the other area of the pitch. You also then add in, if teams defend against you man-to-man, like a Bielsa team would, for example, the way to destroy that style of defending is rotations between zones, so players constantly moving. Ten Hag's style has both of those things in. There's a defined structure. We always try and build with the back three. You always see it. The players making it up will change, but we always try and build with the back three. Then there's normally 2 in midfield. Sometimes it goes to 1, which is where things get a bit ropey on transition. And then the rest are in that front line. So you can see that as the structure. The problem is, physically, we're not fit enough to implement it yet. But also, because of the lack of training time, the players don't necessarily recognise the cues.
But Ange's been there 6 months. He's implemented it.
But he's had a week in between every game because they've not been in Europe.
So you're saying that's...
Ten Hag's been in Europe for 2 seasons running now, and last season you can't really count it as much for implementing his philosophy, because he's had to backtrack so heavily because of the players he had, because he knew he had David De Gea at the back.
All right,
he had other players.
Well, do you know what then? Because Ten Hag said this himself. As we get players back, we'll see the quality improve.
Yeah.
Are we going to see that? Do you think? Do you think that's a Casemiro and Martinez away from being all right?
What I think we'll see is, for the first 20 to 25 minutes of games, I think we'll look fantastic in a lot of moments. Or we'll have a 20-25 minute period where we look really good. And then we'll see for the rest of the game, we look really poor. Because you can't get over this physical issue until the end of the season. It's a pre-season thing to sort out, unless Ten Hag's happy to just sack off a month and get it sorted now.
Who did impress you today, though, on the game for us? Anyone? Obviously, Rasmus Højlund, good goal, got good assist.
Højlund's finish was
Rashford's
fantastic. You can't say Rashford impressed.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying good finish. You know, but
no. Look, great, nice finish, but he did nothing else.
No.
He was really, really lacklustre. But again, it's just another sort of sign of the lack of quality, lack of intensity. When he was supposed to be following Pedro Porro.
Yeah, he couldn't do it. That first half, I was like, mate, just get in and get goal side of Pedro Porro. Stop trying to cheat.
It's trying to cheat, but also part of it as well. You see Pedro Porro there. Yeah. If a Spurs player is in that same situation for the United player, it's a sprint. You get out quick. You stop it.
Yeah.
For us, it's just a
jog.
They're
running for the manager. That's what I'm saying. They're not doing it. I don't even put it as just a straight lack of intensity. They're not doing it.
Part of it, I know, obviously, maybe it's a mentality thing. Part of it is they're just not physically conditioned for it. Okay. If they're conditioned for it, they're fine. They can do it.
I hope you're right.